Hello guys, in this video I'm going to start talking about the second topic in traffic building, which is the search engine optimization in terms of the different processes that are undertaken to produce our search engine results page, the SERP. Okay, let's get started. So with the different stages take place to produce our SERP, search engine results page. They are not in order. In my presentation, of course, I'm going to talk about these different steps, but they are not in order, meaning that there are some steps that take place on continuously in the background all the time, which is one of them is a crawling. Crawling is basically if you imagine the search engine being a spider or having that little entity which is a spider in our analogy, and this spider is browsing or going over its net. Yeah, so this is what the search engine is doing. It has an engine like a spider which has an algorithm. It's a step-by-step instructions that guides the direction of this engine so that it can go and browse around the web and read different pages, different websites available on the internet. Then we have indexing. Indexing is an index has to do something with the database, but not only storing in a database, but storing in a database with some semantic meaning so that it is easier to group different pages or extract certain themes of certain pages, putting it under a certain index so that the search engine can easily pull out related websites to a certain search term or search query. Then we have the ranking or scoring. Ranking and scoring, I'm going to talk a little bit more about it in the subsequent slides, as the same with the query request and results survey. Okay, so what are the four main stages? As you can see in this slide, these are the four main stages of search engine producing the search engine results page or the search engine listing or the list of results. Over here you can see that we have the crawling and indexing processes take place almost all the time. It tries its best to, the crawler tries its best to organize everything in tables or inverted indexes, and this is also related to the query and ranking. So over here, the user searches it into the query, and this query, first of all, we need to determine the relevant documents or websites, and then rank them in a certain order. And ranking them in a certain order, we have to be connected to what the crawler is continuously doing to keep it up to date. And then we also need to extract the document titles and snippets and return it as a search engine results page, because the search engine results page, or after you enter a query, what happens is that you get the title in blue and then a little bit of a little description. So this is how do you communicate the results. So this is the phase 2 over here, which is extracting document titles and snippets to return the search engine results page. So this phase is just the things that happen in the background, which is the determining the relevant documents and ranking them. Then, now that I have all this information done, I need to communicate it with the customer. I need to communicate with my audience. So phase 2 is where you have to. Phase 2 is where the search engine communicates the results in a certain format. For example, let's run a query here on digital marketing. And over here, do you see how the results are organized in this results page? Okay. I am not sharing my screen. Let me share the screen with you guys. Okay. So as you can see here, this is the results, the search engine results page, or the SERP. for the digital marketing query that I ran on my browser. As you can see here, I have the results are organized in advertisements first. First is the title of the page, and then description here, snippet, and so on. There are certain images here on the side. I also have, so this is what, and also here people also ask for. This is also a new thing with Google, not very new now, it's been around for a while. So this is the featured snippets here, about featured snippets. So this is what I meant here with the phase 2 and talking about titles and snippets like these feature snippets, also the geographical ones, and so on. All right, so let me go back to the slides. Okay, so going back to the slides, let's start with the first. Here's the query request. So just in case you are overwhelmed with so many terms, this is called query request when you're entering a search term, not entering a keyword. Okay, it's a keyword in a sense, but let's agree that what the audience, what the person is entering to Google as an inquiry, we call it a search term. Okay, we call it a search term, so that we can make up the difference between a search term, which is the words that you enter and you feed into the search engine, and the keywords that you as later on we're going to talk about it in Google search ads, you as a digital marketer going to use to manage your marketing campaigns. Okay, all right, so this is what we call the search engine results page, or the SERP. These are snippets here, and yeah, I showed it to you right away. So who performs what? Who performs the inquiry request? You, human being, right there. A little scared, but so a human being here asks for, does that query request, and the crawling, the indexing, and the results serving is done by the Google crawler. The crawler or the Google engine, the search engine. Now, having this said, regardless of the user's inquiries, the pod is always crawling. So crawling is an ongoing, all the time kind of activity. And the crawling is done because it's a computer program, really. It's not a spider, of course. It's a computer program, that an algorithm that has a step-by-step instructions on how to do things, how to extract themes, and how to index, and so forth. All right, stages that involved in the producing that search engine results page. First one is crawling. The purpose of crawling is to identify the relevant pages, and this identification of relevant pages is fed into the next process, which is, or the next stage, which is indexing. Assessing whether they have been changed also. First time you getting your website indexed, the crawler might read your website on stages, go visit your website on stages and cover all the pages depending on how big your website is. And then once this is done, occasionally the crawler will come and visit your site. Now, back in the time, at the very, 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 very early stages of digital marketing, used to be asked the question, when is the crawler going to read my site? When am I going to get my site read and indexed? Most importantly, indexed. Why? Because if your site is not indexed, it's not in the database, then your chances of being listed on the SERP is zero. No chances, not even diminishing chances, it's zero. You're not in the database, then all the results that showing on Google results page is coming from the database. If it's not coming, if you're not in the database, meaning if you're not indexed, then forget about it. Usually when you are crawled, your site is being crawled, it's not concurrent, but it is very highly that you are getting indexed, and you got indexed when you are crawled. So when you're making any changes also, nowadays I will show you in other videos how you could get your website indexed. So you don't have to wait for the mercy of the crawler to visit your site. You can use Google Console. Google Console, you will register with Google Console, and then you will wait. Also, I'm not saying that once you register or you log into Google Console, you will get indexed. You still have to wait for the crawler to come and index your site or your website. So basically, you're going to have to wait. How much is the waiting time? I'm not going to say it's too much, but at least by using the Google tool, which is Google Console. Now, we talked about Google Analytics for identifying traffic and traffic sources, yeah? But now I'm talking about another tool, Google Console. Google Console is used basically for other purposes as well. But the first reason why you would need to use Google Console is actually to get your site indexed, to tell Google, I'm here, you see, I'm here, I'm using your tool, so I'm here, you can index me, you can crawl my site, okay? And if you have made any meaningful changes to your site, then basically you can also request changes on Google Console. So you can tell Google request to be crawled, or if you fix any problems on your site to enhance your site, enhance the speed and other things, you can also tell Google that I would like to request a revision, I think, or something like that we call it. So I'm going to show you in a video a little bit more about Google Console. So these are some of the tweets, the legacy tweets, that I will show you, like some of the conversations that have been happening, like when Google is going to come and index my site. That was like until 2019, people will still be asking. I guess I would like to know if I should update all my last modified tags if I change some important HTML to my page templates. So he's a John Muller. His name is John Mullen, I think, and Mosley is an expert here. And they're talking about people are still thinking that if you use the last mod, which is an HTML tag called last modified, and you change the time of the last modified, then Google probably would come and index your site. But how would Google know that you changed your last modified? So look at John, what he says. He says the last modification date is useful if you want those pages recrawled or reprocessed. So if something significant changed, that sounds like a good fit. If you're just changing, of course, sidebars and colors and all that styling, don't do it, he's saying. Then again, she's saying, in the next tweet, we have Michael saying, in 2011, you said that Google engine didn't use the last modified tag for crawling. Is it still true? Yes, still don't use it. So basically, this last modified, I don't know why people are still asking in 2017 and still in 2019 about the last modified. If you can use Google Console, and I will show you in the video, if you can use Google Console to actually tell Google to revisit your site. So not everything on the internet, reading too much on the internet is good, but this is, I cannot get it why the people are talking about last modified if we have Google Console. I'm going to show you and prove to you that you don't need last mod. You don't need to even ask about it or answer to this like that. You just can tell people, please use Google Console. And yes, if Google doesn't still use it, what is he talking about? Google doesn't still use it. I mean, this is the situation. There is a crawling budget, yeah? So the thing is, if you have a big site, I think people, what they're trying to say, I'm going to signal certain pages as high priority with the last modified. If I change the last modified, then I'm going to make Google's life easier when I request probably to come and visit my site again. I hope that this is what they're talking about. And then last mod will be used to enhance the priority. Yes, maybe, but honestly speaking, with your XML sitemap, if you submit a new XML sitemap and use the priority here, there's a priority parameter in the XML sitemap. If you play around with the priority, then probably you are going to easily tell Google that these are high priority pages, and they will start crawling with the high priority pages. And then after the crawling is done, you can change your XML accordingly. This is also an idea that you could do. If this is I hope this is the conversation that's taking place here on the internet, because this, to me, I'm going to show you that you don't need to be confused in asking all these questions. And there's a reason why Google is not using last mod, because there's other ways around it, I will show you how to do it. Okay, stages involved in producing a search engine listing, which is indexing. Indexing is very important. If you're not in the database, you will never have a chance to be showed on the SERP. Indexing is creating a table of relevant pages and websites together. So for example, the index is created here to enable the search engine to rapidly find the most relevant pages to a certain search term, search word, containing query typed by the searcher. Okay, rather than searching each page for a query phrase, a search engine inverts the index to produce a table, or a lookup table. So this is why we call it inverted tables. So a search engine inverts the index to produce a lookup table of the documents containing particular keywords. So you would be kind of like your documents related to certain tables of lookup tables. So it's easier to be related to certain tables and tables related to certain pages, and then we can pull out these pages to show in the search engine results page. So one way of checking your indexing if you are indexed in search engine is to sign up for their webmaster tools, which is Google Console. It used to be called Webmaster Tool, but now it's called Google Console or Google Search Console. It will report the number of pages indexed, and also you can submit an XML sitemap for your site to see how many pages are indexed of these submitted. So I'm going to talk a little bit about XML and XML sitemap in videos and in other videos, but sitemap is a map for the site. It is a list of all the pages on your site. There are in some websites that used to have a sitemap for you as an audience, like for you as a visitor. So the sitemap usually is a page on the site that has all the links of the pages done in a certain order. But the sitemap we're talking about is a sitemap in the background. So this is why it's XML. Do you know HTML? This is not HTML. This is a markup language called XML. We're going to talk about it in future videos. It's in a certain format that makes it easier for the search engine to map out the site. So the Google Search Engine Console, here Neil Patel will talk to us a little bit more about the Search Engine Console. And this is a very interesting video. I'm not going to show the video right now. I'm going to let you watch it. Please watch it. It's a very interesting video. You will understand better what indexing is. And also he talks a little bit about an XML site generator. So here he got an XML site generator, but you don't need to use this if you are using Yoast as well. So over here, this is the one option that you can use, which is an XML site generator. But in another video, when I'm talking about Google Console, I'm going to talk about how to use Yoast if you're using WordPress and plugins to develop your site. So if you're using WordPress, there's a plugin called Yoast that you could use to generate an XML sitemap. If you're not using WordPress and plugins for developing your site, and you're working in a company where there are computer scientists and other web developers developing the site, then what you need to do is they should also know that they need to go to the XML site generator. If they don't know, you know. And with the XML site generator, you can produce and create an XML sitemap that you could submit to Google Console to get your site indexed with them. Okay, what's the next? Here I'm talking about Yoast, how to get the XML sitemap. Maybe not, but I'm just talking here about Google Console. First of all, you sign up with Google Console. Second, go to your WordPress Yoast plugin and get the sitemap from there, and then submit the sitemap to Google Console so that you can get indexed. I'm going to talk a little bit more details on where to find the XML sitemap on Yoast plugin and all that in a separate video. Query request. Query request is when you are entering a certain keyword, but search engines accept the searches queries, but the user's location is also assessed. It's not they're taking the keyword or the term from you only. No, they're taking the term, the keyword, or the search term, but they're also assessing the location. Where are you? They're assessing also your previous history and all that. So it's assessed through an IP address, then processed to relevant data centers so that they can give you the most relevant even around your geography. We're going to talk a little bit more about also how the search engine gives the results. Rankings then occurs in real time. That's awesome for a particular query to return the sorted list of relevant documents, a sorted ranked list. So ranking now, or scoring. The indexing process, once it's over and produced this inverted index or the lookup table of all the pages that contains a certain particular keywords relevant to your search term, then they are sorted in terms of a relevance or score. Back in the time, we used to say the word relevance in terms of their relevance, but relevance is not the only measure. There are about 200 factors that Google engine takes, or search engine takes into consideration to produce this score. So it's kind of like a holy grail that is very difficult to decipher, and it's getting more and more personalized and customized. That even in class, guys, we have noticed last time that each one of us got a different search engine results page for the same search term. So it's not only they're not only taking your search term, they're also taking into consideration your geography, your location, but also your browsing history into consideration. So this is something that is not really here, but I'm asking a question: how about the intent? This is what we mean by the intent. They're taking into consideration also your search query, your browsing history. On-site or on-page search engine optimization, I'm going to talk about this in due course. And here where I told you that Google takes into consideration over 200 factors that signals the relevance of a page. So for now, how do you submit a new site? You basically, these are common questions for any new campaigns. What you need to do is you use the Google search engine tool. So use the Google engine Google Search Console to submit your site. I'm going to talk about this in due course. So this is it for today's video. I'll see you in the next video.